Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, whatever the sport, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Andrew DiCecco is in the house from InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast. As the Eagles had a busy week this week, we'll look back at the week that was as all the different storylines that happened. I want to go back to, you know what's ironic there? By the way, let's welcome in Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com right now on a happy hour Friday. I like having you on the Friday, DiCecco. You and I can have a nice cold beer together and chat a little bit about the music and the beer. You would be appalled at Josh's answers this week of lead singers as the category for Stump the Sports Geek. He got 2 out of 10 right. You would be appalled.
What's going on, Mike? Great to be with you.
Yeah, man. He did not know who the lead singer of The Doors was, number one.
Come on, Josh.
No, he didn't know. These were his topic. He did not know the lead singer of the Foo Fighters.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, White Stripes, R.E.M., The Cure, Oasis, Radiohead. He got them all wrong.
Oh, man, I'm disgusted. I find that to be repugnant.
I find that to be embarrassingly bad. When he didn't know who Jim Morrison was, I really was like, all right, this is not going to go very well. But
I mean, Mike, that sounds like a layup to me, but what do I know?
Yeah, it was. Well, people were playing for tickets. He tried to win them. He got 2 answers right, which was not good enough. But I was watching last night, okay, Andrew DiCecco, sitting on my couch, no Phillies last night, and on AMC, it was a Rocky marathon last night. And I was up at Mighty Mick's Gym recently. There's a new brewery up there, and I stopped at that brewery. So I got a little nostalgic, and I wanted to watch some Rocky because I just happened to be in that area. And when Nick Sirianni signed his extension, it hit me. How come this guy is not the most popular sports figure in the history of the city? He is Rocky Balboa. He's the most improbable sports figure I can think of. There's not one person who's more improbable of success than Nick Sirianni. Would you agree?
I would agree, and I saw your tweet yesterday, and I definitely agree with that. And I don't know if it's because there's still the memory of the sideline debacle coming off the Browns game or the 2023 slide. But I think you also, first and foremost, have to give credit to Jeffrey Lurie for standing by his coach, believing in him when that decision was met with a lot of skepticism. But you also have to give credit to Nick Sirianni because the season did not get off to the start that everybody anticipated. And instead of sort of packing it in, or even his players really, checking out, they ended up going to him. He was receptive to their feedback, and he altered his philosophical approach. And then you see them literally hit the ground running coming out of that bye. And it is a really good redemption story, but I don't think he gets enough credit for the culture that he sets and having the emotional intelligence, always having that continual growth mindset, and all of those things directly contributed to the Eagles' success last season. And it seems as though a lot of folks are now starting to give him his flowers.
Yeah, you wrote about it over at InsideTheBirds.com, the redemption arc for him. And, yeah, he had the moment against the Browns, which I was very critical of. He had the team 1-6 down the stretch in the 2023 season. So those things all happen and have to be a part of the puzzle. But as I mentioned, it's kind of like the weird thing. This guy is so improbable that no one saw him getting this job. No one saw them getting to the playoffs the year that he got the job. No one saw them getting to the Super Bowl the second year. Then the third year, they get off to a 10-1 start. What role did he have in them being 10-1? If you're saying none, well, then you can't say that he's a big part of them being 1-7. They have to be equal parts, right? So I think it's so hard to put my finger on why this guy is polarizing even the right word. It's almost like, well, what does this guy do? They win in spite of him. Anybody could have won with this roster. It is befuddling to me that this guy isn't the toast of the town.
Yeah, it is. And I've been somebody who's been adamant behind Nick Sirianni and what he does behind the scenes to help fuel the Eagles. Do they have a talented roster? Absolutely. But for anyone to suggest that anyone could guide this team, it's just misguided. It's a misguided sentiment because there's so many different things that he does to keep the team together. Look, that 2-2 start without strong leadership, that likely that season slides out of control. So I think that he deserves a lot of acknowledgement and a lot of praise for what he was able to do and keep that team together and have everything moving forward. And every single week you saw them ready to play. They didn't come out flat. They came out ready to go. And that stems from his mindset of, we're going to go 1-0 every week. You're not going to look back. You're not going to look forward. You're not going to play down to the opponent. And it comes down to that hardened resolve, and that really is what he has ingrained into the team.
Talk with Andrew DiCecco, Football 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. You know, you write in the story, I'm glad you pointed out, he's a Jamestown, New York native, who you also mentioned is 48-20, 6-3 in the postseason, 2 Super Bowls, 1 victory. His 70% win percentage is third among NFL head coaches in the Super Bowl ever. But that's Jamestown, New York. I spent a week in Jamestown. I went to college with a guy who's a buddy of mine from Jamestown. And I say, they're just nice people. And sometimes nice people are not relatable to us here in the Northeast, man. We're a little gritty. We're a little gutty. And it almost feels like I think the people here feel like he's pandering or trying too hard. Meanwhile, I think Nick's literally like, hey, I'm moving my family to this area. I want to be part of the fabric of the community, and he wants to fit into the community, and people are looking at him almost like he's a phony.
Yeah, that's not it at all. Like, he's not a phony. He's very authentic, and I think that's part of what endears himself to his players and why they're ready to run through a brick wall for him. And I know it sounds cliche and corny, Mike, but I've been around Nick Sirianni since the 2021 season, and you see the growth and development and the evolution of a young head coach. And he's sort of finding his way, or he was finding his way until he was able to win the Super Bowl. And I think a lot of the skepticism or the hesitancy to believe in him really stems from he was billed as this offensive mind, and his offense didn't look good. And he had to turn over play calling duties early in his tenure in that first season there. And then, of course, the outburst and things like that, the press conference. So he's done things in an unconventional way, but there should be no doubt that he is the coach to lead this team forward. And I can't emphasize enough about the culture that he sets and the leadership that he has and the emotional intelligence that owner Jeffrey Lurie really preaches and looks for in his head coaches. So there's a lot that he does that doesn't necessarily get the credit. And one sentiment that really doesn't, it kind of rubs me the wrong way and I take umbrage with, is that anyone could pilot that team, when in fact there's many coaches you can point to and say, yeah, you come off that 1-6 skid and then you start 2-2 with all that pressure. Yeah, most teams would fold, or you would see players go the other way and not play as hard, or maybe start to pack it in. That wasn't the case for the Philadelphia Eagles. All
right, Andrew DiCecco, you wrote a great story over at InsideTheBirds.com. I ask all our listeners to go check that out. It's on Jordan Mailata and everything. But one thing that Mailata said during his entertaining press conference that stands out to me, and it ties into Sirianni. It's about the culture that they have set, where he says, I told Miles, I told Cameron, and I told Drew. They are the 3 rookies, by the way, for the listeners, are like, who's Miles, Cameron, and Drew? He says, I don't care if you come for my job. If you're better than me, you're going to be better than me. But I'm going to make it damn hard for you to reset. But I'm going to bring you along. I'm not going to keep you down. It's not how it runs here. That comment there stands out to me and sets this organization apart from the also-rans, where here's a guy in Jordan Mailata who says, if you want to come for my job, I don't care if you take it if you're better than me. That has to come from somebody.
Yeah, he said, I'll vouch for you if you're better than me, but I'm going to make it damn hard. And that is, again, the culture that is set. No one's comfortable. No one gets complacent. Competition really lends itself to having a unified team and makes everybody better. And that really, that's not the case everywhere. I know that sounds simple enough. Everybody's on the team. You want to push each other. But you look at Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, mostly with quarterbacks, but you don't often see players saying, hey, look, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push you, and we're going to see who's the best, who's the last man standing for that job. And I can't emphasize enough that is a big part of what the Eagles are building here, and really the foundation of why they have been so successful. And it's easy to look at the on-the-field performance, and they have so much talent on that team. But it starts with Nick Sirianni and the culture that he set, and really Jeffrey Lurie as well. When you look at ownership, and I was asked this question the other day, what would I look for in an owner? Obviously, you look at giving allocation of resources and things like that. But first and foremost, it's got to be culture, because without that, you have nothing. The Eagles had a lot of talent back in 2010, for example, but they didn't have the coach that had the emotional intelligence, and it didn't work out. So Yes, I think that should not be understated.
Yeah, by the way, Mailata went on to say, he said, it's the culture I was brought into. Why would I shut the door? When I came here, Jason Peters, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Big V, Isaac Seumalo, Stefan Wisniewski, man, go down the list, Chase Wormack. Those guys just welcomed me in, and they brought me along. I feel like I owe it to those rookies to bring them along, and I just told them, if you're better than me, I'll vouch for you, but I'm going to make it damn hard. It ain't easy, but good luck. I absolutely loved hearing him say that there. We're talking with Andrew DiCecco. Also, all right. Also, this week, the tush push, it's been talked about ad nauseum. What was it like? You know, the players were all kind of almost downplaying it. Well, we don't need it. We'll run something different. But the social media team suggested that organization was thrilled with the result. What do you really think the organization felt and how important that play is to them?
Well, I like their messaging on Tuesday because they conveyed a sense of confidence. Okay, you get rid of that play, we'll find another one. We're already effective in the quarterback sneaks. If you take it away from us, we're going to wear it like a badge of honor. We're not going to cry. We're not going to say, woe is me. But internally, Mike, you have to think, and really you've heard Nick Sirianni at the owners' meetings and some of the other players, they take offense to that. They take it personal because of how much work they put into it. And the NFL and the league is suggesting that it's not a football play and this and that, but they don't take into account how much effort and practice time the Eagles put into executing that play at such a high level. Not if it were easy, every team could do it, and they couldn't. And they tried to take it away from the Eagles because they were so good at it, and they couldn't stop them. And it was petty, and it was really salty behavior by the NFL. So I think that they took that personal, but they conveyed an air of confidence and sort of nonchalant about the whole thing, which I thought was really good.
All right, Andrew, you're around these guys a lot. It was announced, as you wrote about, they will be a part of the HBO Max Hard Knocks NFC East in season this season. Give me three guys you think will be the stars of the show for the Eagles.
This is kind of an easy one. I'm going to say Jalen Hunt for one because he has the charisma and the personality, and he's going to have a very prominent role this year. So I would imagine that the camera's going to be on him a lot, and he's somebody that likes to cut it up. I'll say Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is obviously a big personality, and he's really stepped up and become a really prominent leader on the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the other one, I'll say Jordan Mailata for some of the reasons that we talked about. You talk about leaders, he's at the top of the list along with Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, with BG no longer being there. And I really think that you might catch a clip of him singing. He has a personality that is very inviting and welcoming, coupled with his size and his performance, that I think he's going to be sort of a compelling story to follow throughout the season, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would think Mailata would definitely, or the offensive line as a group there, will be kind of featured. I got to imagine Big Dom is a part of this big time. Or is he a guy that when you're at practice, do you not see him around? Is he not like I would imagine he's a prominent figure at practice. And
we see him there. And I think the point that you're making is there are a lot of characters and figures of high character in that team that have that charisma that I think that it's going to be alluring to the HBO cameras. You go down the list. I think Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell would be two players that are going to get a lot of camera time and probably surprise some people with the personality and things like that. So Zach Bond, Kobe Dean. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to follow.
No doubt about it. And I got to imagine the teams aren't going to love it, especially the Eagles. I feel like the Eagles play very close to the vest. They don't want their news getting out there. But for the fans, it's like, hey, I don't really want my team on there, but I kind of want to be a voyeur and watch what goes on inside there, right? I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword there.
Yeah. And what I would say to anyone that has any nervousness about how it might affect the season with the distractions or anything like that, if there were ever a team that is able to withstand those outside distractions and quiet that noise, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles, because they have the leadership. It's already instilled in them, and they know what the focus is. Jalen Hurts talks about keeping the main thing, and they've already reached the top of the mountain before, and they talk about how they turn the page right away and how they're ready to go after it again. And they kept talking about how they're focusing on the 2025 season. They're so focused on the task at hand that I really wouldn't worry about it too much. Now, if you're other teams in the NFC East, like the Commanders, who are an upstart team with Jaden Daniels. They're going to have a lot of cameras on them, and every move you make is going to be documented. So you may move a little bit differently and be more cautious about what you're saying and be a little bit more tight. And in Dallas, I think that they would be a team ripe for implosion, especially with the George Pickens of the world there as well. So not every team is wired to be able to handle it, but the Philadelphia Eagles certainly are because of the infrastructure that they have.
All right, Andrew DiCecco, we'll get you out. Now, are you a down the shore guy, or do you down our shore? Do you go to the other shores? Are you a down the shore guy?
I am. I'm a Margate guy. I go to the Delaware beaches as well. Not this weekend, though. Not this weekend. I'll be working, but I am a down the shore guy, and I know you are as well.
Yeah, man. I like the Margate. I didn't know you were a Margate guy. All right, we'll have to catch up in Margate this summer. That's where I would be as
the
well.
Greenhouse, man. The Ventura's Greenhouse is my spot. I love that place.
I see. I guess I can see you at that greenhouse. Yes, I can see you up there on that porch, kind of holding shop up there. All right, well, we'll have to meet up while you're down here. You have to let me know, man. All right?
I for sure will, Mike. Thanks again.